Hello, Austin, Texas. I'm Alex Jones, and you're watching Exposing Mass Media. While I was setting up stuff earlier with my crew, we were accidentally on live for about 20 minutes and didn't even know it. So you probably saw me sitting here reading magazines and doing Lord knows what else. This is a special episode tonight. Not so special in that most of my episodes I think are special, not because I'm special, but because the information we're talking about is special. Because anything that pertains to the freedom of the citizens of this country to live, to be free from outrageous taxes, to be free from all the rest that government intrusion is thrusting onto our everyday lives. And there's a lot to talk about. There's been a ton of stuff in the news from eubonics, the new form of speech or whatever that the Oakland school district's for, to Bill Cosby's son being shot on the highway today. Just countless things. Clinton scandals are still going. All the Newt Gingrich stuff is still churning. And this is a live show, January the 16th, 1997, so feel free to call in. Usually my shows are on Wednesdays from 7 to 8:30 p.m., but I'm happy to announce I'll also be having a second series starting February the 6th. I will start a new series, and I'll also be on Thursday nights. I'm going to call that something else. In fact, see, we're already getting some calls. Y'all can suggest names for the show if you like. I'm thinking something like Corruption in America or something, or Corruption in High Places. Maybe it'll be a program dedicated mainly to going after the nuts and bolts of corruption, and there might be more I might have cuts of film and things on that program. First of all, I'd like to thank all the viewers out there for all the support for the program. I'd like to thank y'all for all your feedback and all the information. I've been getting a lot of requests for me to take more calls, so we have more of a dialogue. And so for the last 8 or 9 months since I've been doing the show, I usually only take 6 to 10 calls a program. I'm going to go through some quick news of the week, and then we'll go right into y'all's phone calls. I can see we're screening some calls right now. Well, first of all, folks, something sad happened today. I grew up watching Bill Cosby, whether it was his cartoons or the Cosby Show. I think he's a hilarious comedian, one of the few comedians that is a clean comedian. He talked about the family dynamic and things like that, real life stuff. It didn't have to be vulgar or debasing of women or such. And again, I'm not some goody two-shoe who's against funny comedy that's dark or vulgar. I like most forms of comedy. I just think he's a really good man, one of the richest entertainers in our country. And a shameful thing happened today. Somebody on the L.A. freeway, his son, who was just getting his second master's degree, working on it at the University of Columbia, I believe I heard on the radio today, and he was just fixing to get his second master's, and he was there fixing his car, and right now it looks like a white thug pulled over and robbed him and shot him. Just senseless violence, and you see that in our culture so much today. We're getting so desensitized to violence by Hollywood and so much of the entertainment industry. And again, I'm not for censorship. I think Hollywood should be able to produce pretty much whatever it wants, as long as it's rated properly. But that's the thing I'm going to get to later. Look at how Hollywood generates. I went and saw a Hollywood movie this weekend with some friends. I went and saw the Relic, and I thought it was a great program. But what I didn't get about it is that the thing had a theme, in it, which was real exciting, and I enjoyed it. Kind of science fiction stuff like that. And the whole movie, though, was just total and complete endless violence, and guns were the central figure of the movie, which I understand. You have to have that in a movie that's action-packed like that, and I'm not against that. But then how can Hollywood turn around while they're promoting violence and desensitizing the public? How can they turn around then and have the nerve to tell us, that we're extremists because we're for the Second Amendment, which the Founding Fathers put in there for a reason, to defend us against tyrannical government and defend our homes from thugs, like the man that shot Bill Cosby Jr. today. So, folks, this is just outrageous what happened to him. It's a shameful act. I am very sad that a member of my race did it, but as we all know, thugs and criminals come from all races, all creeds, and all backgrounds, and both sexes. Of course, nowadays, 3 or 4 sexes. There's always some new group wanting to have a new sex. But that's just terrible. Now to a lighter note, and I'd like to hear your feedback on this. I don't usually get into the whole environmental thing. I usually don't attack the environmentalists. I think a lot of the people at the lower levels of the environmentalist movement are some of your best people. They really care about the planet. They really care about their environment. They care about the children of America growing up in a country that's free or near free of toxic chemicals. And so I don't really get into that because I feel like there's so many good people who've been involved in it, and I feel like they've been misdirected in a lot of, in a lot of respects. But at the same time, I pretty much steer clear of it usually. But can't do it, folks. You know, you've got more and more of these areas that are getting called not just national parks, but so-called biosphere zones. 23 national parks or part of parks have been turned over to the UN. That's a fact. I've seen them. I've been down in Mexico, and I've seen UN biospheres there where people aren't allowed to go. I mean, these things are everywhere. So when you hear about that in the media, it is true. The UN has been given over large parts of large tracts of our land, about 1.5 million acres just in North America, and they've got a lot more also in Alaska and Hawaii, which are other states of ours. Don't need to tell you all that. But Bobby Unser, who is a 5-time Indianapolis 500 winner, probably one of the most famous race car drivers ever. He was in New Mexico, and he was on a snowmobile with some friends, and they got stuck, and they were in legal areas, and then they got lost because a blizzard blew in it. And those of you that know about a blizzard, you can't see 5 feet in front of your hand in a blizzard. They barely lived, folks. It took them 2 days of hiking out through, 15-degree weather in the snow to make it out to a road and get saved by some rangers. And then guess what the rangers turned around and did? They gave them a fine because they asked where they'd been, and they said, well, off that direction, 5 or 10, 20 miles, we're not sure. They still haven't found the snowmobile as of last week, but they still just gave them the fine. And the Park Service isn't sure if they were given a fine, but, the Park Service isn't sure, let me correct myself, the Park Service isn't even sure if they did cross over the line. It's just that Mr. Unser was being, truthful and said, well, I did see some signs once we were already lost. Oh, well, forget it that you almost died. Forget that you were lost out in the wilderness and actually crossed over some imaginary line. Maybe. We're still just going to give you this ticket. And they even told him, because you're a celebrity and we want to make an example. Think about that, folks. The selfless, non-thinking behavior of some of these bureaucrats. You're out there 2 days, no food and water, having to eat snow, barely make it out alive, in freezing temperatures, and they hand you a ticket for it. I mean, that's just the insanity, folks, because these people feel like they were being right and doing that to him. And I want to hear what you think about that. To me, that's just outlandish, folks. I mean, here's the article. I can read you part of it. It says, Unser faces fine for near-fatal trip. Famous race car driver. And it says, and then I'll read it to you. Unbelievable. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Three-time Indianapolis 500 winner Bobby Unser says the government shouldn't be prosecuting him for getting lost during a blizzard. And then it goes on down here. He says, but even if I did cross an invisible line in the snow, he said, the Forest Service shouldn't be protecting someone for getting lost in a blizzard. Shouldn't be prosecuting someone for getting lost in a blizzard. And him and his friend got lost in there. And that just shows you right there how crazy these people are and how they'll go. It's like a selfless, unheeding thought that I've personally even seen with bureaucrats. I mean, they're talking about even shutting down Barton Springs. That's in the works, maybe, because there's salamanders in there. I mean, folks, I've seen salamanders my whole life out in the woods, crawling out from underneath, logs and rocks. I mean, they're everywhere. And I know it's a special species and all that. I know I'm jumping around. It just is pretty unusual to me, folks, what's going on in this country. And I can't quite understand why so much, the authorities won't go out. This happened at ACTV here. Okay, and this isn't on the environment, but some people had a show here, and they were wearing a marijuana wreath around their head as a joke, and it wasn't real marijuana, it was plastic. Well, somebody called and said, they're smoking marijuana up there at ACTV. Well, guess what? The police were there 10 minutes later. No, I don't think it's the police, but think about this. People have had their windows broken out here several times, and it took the police 30 minutes to an hour, and sometimes they don't even come out here. See what I'm saying? If it's a drug issue, the police are rushing here. If it's an issue of crossing a visible line in the snow that's some UN-controlled zone, everybody comes down and descends on them. I mean, we're getting so petty in this country because the media and Hollywood have set up an agenda of what's important. And I just think it's shameless, folks. Now let's get into some real serious stuff. We talked about Bill Cosby's son getting shot on the L.A. freeway. I hope that doesn't get turned around by the forces that are against the Second Amendment and say, see, that's the fault of the gun. No, folks, it's the fault of that barbarous, evil degenerate that shot him for no reason after he robbed him. It's the fault of that person, folks. It is not the fault of the firearm. A firearm is a tool like an automobile or like a chainsaw. Very dangerous, but it's a tool. We have to understand that. And there is no argument in the Constitution about what the Second Amendment's about. Well, I see we've got some screen calls. I'll start going to those in a second. Just some other items that I'd like to speak about, and if y'all want to talk about this is great. It's all come out now. Every week I speak to you, and I've got my reruns that are on countless hours a week because of so many requests for them. We're always hearing about what Republicans do, teaching college courses, doing this, doing that, all these terrible things they do. Let's get them. They're so bad. But then it'll always be shuffled off, or the media will ignore it, or they won't report on it, about Bill Clinton's serious lacking of credibility. And, I've called Clinton a traitor on this program, and I don't know what else to call him, folks. I don't know what else to call it. And I talk about this every week, folks, but there's new developments in the ongoing foreign money and influence in the White House scam and the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. Money just flows in by the gallons, folks, and nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to want to get involved. It's shuffled off to the back of the paper weekly, and now the newest stuff has come out. Mr. John Huang, who was a member of the DNC, even though he isn't native to this country, which is fine, but his job, it all came out in the papers, his job was to get money for the Clinton administration from Asian Americans and foreign Asian groups that were based here, though, that had offices here. And, then we started finding out that big banking groups were giving him money, and that was totally illegal against the Constitution to take foreign money. And then we found out that Clinton, made a bunch of our coal reserves, clean burning coal, which is good for the environment, off limits. And the media said, oh, isn't he great for the environment? And, he's doing all this against our country, cutting off our natural resources so that Chinese and Indonesian, which are, Indonesia is pretty much a satellite, folks, a satellite country of China. And by cutting off that coal reserve, what it did is pretty much obliterate our coal stocks here. Coal stocks dropped dramatically here, whereas in those countries, coal stocks went up. That's called espionage against our country, folks. But, that's not that glamorous. Let's ignore that. That's, let's get after Newt Gingrich or some Republican for teaching a college course or something. Okay. Let's just forget about that then. Let's move on down here. Now it comes out that John Huang is a known. This has been in many papers. Weeks ago, it was in conservative journals like Human Events, but of course the media doesn't pay attention to some extremist rag like this. Here it is right here. The Commerce Department provided John Huang with a top secret security clearance after waiving a background check. There it is for you right there, folks. Waiving a background check. They let him in. It comes out that guess what, folks? He's on the payroll of the Chinese military securities payroll. He is known to be a member worker of banks that are partially owned by the Chinese, and now it's come out that he's a member of Chinese military intelligence, because anybody that knows anything about China knows that China is pretty much run by the military, folks. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And the New York Times right here, folks, look at this. The cover a couple days ago, and it's still the cover most days, is Gingrich is heard using tactics in ethics case. Like he's Darth Vader or something, some great evil person. Well, he was not supposed to speak about the ethics case after the ethics hearing came out, after the finding came out, after the ethics committee came out and said Newt Gingrich really didn't do much. He wrote a letter that was not true, but, we've gotten hundreds of letters from him, and his lawyer wrote this, all he did was sign it, blah, 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 and the press said, well, he shouldn't have signed something he didn't read. Whereas congressmen and senators every day, vote on bills that are thousands of pages long that they never read. But it doesn't matter. There's a double standard here, folks. And we all heard about how bad he was. And the story here isn't that mid-level DNC operatives, what are their names? What are those people's names? I can't stand when the Martins. And we all saw the Martins on the news. We all heard about the Martins, the great Martins, standing up, good people, didn't even know who, first they said, I saw them say this on television, on CNN, on a press conference, we didn't even, know who Newt Gingrich was. I knew he had gray hair. I think I'd heard about him, blah, blah, blah. What came out that they were campaign chairmen of several counties in Florida, folks, and they just happened to have a scanner going and just happened to record this conversation while Newt Gingrich was doing this. And the story isn't how they committed a known felony, folks. Okay, they committed a felony by using these tapes and doing this. This is against the Privacy Act. Okay, this is patently wrong. In fact, some of the Democrats on the ethics committee have had to resign off the committee because they used the tape and submitted it. And then David Bonnier, the Democrat whip and attack dog on Newt Gingrich. And again, I don't love Newt Gingrich, folks. I'm just saying it's totally hypocritical. They're taping his phone calls here, folks. Then they come out in the media, and the media bends over backwards and say these are normal, good, kind-hearted folks. Let's just ignore all this. It's just asinine, folks. And it's time to wake up that there is a serious move, a serious, going wild guns against Newt Gingrich. And why? because they don't like him, because he doesn't lie down to big government corruption. And I'm sure he's corrupt in some ways, folks, but he's nothing compared to Bill Clinton taking money from Mr. Tree, again from Indonesia, again with ties to a Chinese mafia. For those of you that know about Asia, the mafia and banks and people are what runs it. That's who pretty much runs Japan. The people that were, so-called, gangsters 100 years ago in Japan are the Mitsubishis and people like that. They run the country. Strong-arm people, strong-arm families that have kept power in Japan for hundreds of years. Same thing's true in Indonesia. I mean, folks, all these families are like this. This is a web of corruption. And, right here before I go to these calls, right here, folks, and I know you can't see it, it says, here's her speech about how allowing any marijuana use will lead to dangerous addictions. And it shows Bill Clinton snorting up foreign money. I mean, and again, Bill Clinton is, a little happy-go-lucky guy with a big smile on his face. He can't help it. He's stupid. Let's just laugh about his problems. But they portrayed Bob Dole hundreds of times as rats leaving sinking ships, and Bob Dole with, vampire teeth and big eyes. I showed that on the program before. We've all seen it. I mean, this is just insane, folks, and it's time to start standing up against this double standard. I rail against it every week, folks, but, I mean, it's crazy. Here's Newt Gingrich and the Republicans in trouble for such tiny stuff. It's on the cover of the paper every week for teaching a college course. That's just terrible, folks, for using Republican money for Republican campaigns. That's like me accusing you of watering your lawn. It's just pure it's just me, saying you're bad, and you're bad because of this. Well, that's no real reason, folks. That's not real. It's all just BS, folks. You got Al Gore going to Buddhist temples. He said to the Boston Globe, New York Times, it was not a fundraiser. I was told it wasn't a fundraiser. Well, there's memos that were circulated to the press the day of the event that it was a fundraiser. And I have nothing against him going and raising money. But why is he continually lying about it? Because it was a nonprofit group, folks. The Democrats are just allowed to do whatever they want because they step aside for the crooked elements of our society. And again, I have nothing against. I think there's a lot of corporations that are red-blooded Americans. As a group, they care about the country, they try to strengthen the country. But there's more and more groups out there that are corrupt to the core, and they'll do whatever it takes to kiss up to the government. So that they can be, given tax breaks and all this other BS. Not for tax breaks for anybody, folks, but I just want you to understand why they're trying to tell you. Look, the media is not your friend. I don't mean a radio station down the street or some local thing or this or something. I'm sitting there trying to talk to you. What I'm trying to say to you is this: quit thinking the press is your buddy. You've got all these new slogans. Don't just watch ABC News. Use ABC News. Tune in to this or that and find out what the truth is. They even say that. Tune in tonight and find out the truth. Believe the truth from us. I don't usually say I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you what's widely in the papers. That Bill Clinton is consorting with known international drug runners, opium runners, gun runners, like Mr. Tree and Mr. Wong. I mean, this is all real. So let's go to some calls. Hello, you're on there.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering what you think about the issue of the bombing at the abortion clinic this morning.
I think that is abhorrent. I think that is a shame. I think that people should be advocates in this country for things that they believe in, and I think that people should not. I mean, I am totally against any form of violence, folks, and I think that it's absolutely disgusting that whoever did that to that clinic, they should be brought up on charges. If they're convicted of doing those bombings, they should be executed. I mean, I'm for going after the individual and punishing the individual action. I'm all for the right to life people to go out and protest and to use their First Amendment right of free speech. And I personally don't like abortion, but I don't even get into the whole debate. I'm trying to move us, past all this and let us understand how we can move forward as a society. But I think it's terrible. What do you think about it, caller?
I believe, in this bombing case, I believe that the abortion, of course, abortion is an old and weary issue, but what we really need to look at was the terrorist part. This has probably been, the second, third bombing of a building within the last 3 years here in this nation.
You're right.
And I believe that when you spoke of freedom earlier in the First Amendment and all that, I began immediately put in my head these militia groups and stuff. And I was wondering, maybe this might be stemming from this. I heard a catchphrase earlier in the week called American terrorism, which is emerging now. And I'm just wondering if this freedom is just leading back to this.
Well, wait a minute. You're saying freedom is causing this to happen?
It might have something to do with it. I mean, you see.
Now, hold on a second. This is an argument I want to get into right here. Did you know that at the turn of the century, we had anarchists running around New York and Washington actually throwing things of dynamite at our presidents and people? I mean, we've had the military riding down. The great Douglas MacArthur rode down and killed about 25 protesters who were. I mean, you've got terrorism on both sides. There were protesters at the Capitol after World War I who were wanting their back pension pay from World War I that they were promised by the U.S. government. And our own military went down there, Douglas MacArthur and Eisenhower, and they went in there and they rode over those people. They burnt those shacks. They ran over people with horses. And again, that's terrorism by the government. I mean, you can argue, I mean, there is terrorism on both sides, and there's a lot of these militia groups that I've looked at their websites. I've listened to shortwave radio, and I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying. I think there's that movement in so-called freedom groups to say, well, we're for freedom, so we can do whatever the hell we want, and we can, screw the government, and I hate police, and I hate, this, and I hate that. And no, I'm for freedom. I'm for passive resistance. I'm for using, speech and the pen, which is mightier than the sword, right. And I'm for doing that kind of stuff. So yes, I'm in no way for doing that kind of stuff.
Correct. Yeah, I was just pondering that if people, of course, you were referring to that stuff in New York, and that was basically, like you said, anarchist, and it was scattered. But this is now. It
was scattered. What do you mean? All through our history, there has been terrorism, sir. They used to go and lynch innocent African Americans just because they felt like it. That was a form of terrorism. That used to happen all through the South. So, look, what's going on in Bosnia? What's going on in Africa? What's going on in Russia? In Russia, there are hits and murders every day in Moscow alone by the mafia taking over the country. Death and destruction and crime and criminality is all over the place. America's had a pretty sordid history. But I think America's, probably the best country in the world. So to say, oh, well, we don't know who did that bomb at the Olympic Park, and we don't know whatever. I'm just curious. I'm all for condemning those acts 110%. I don't agree with all militia groups. I think some of them are good. I've read their stuff. They sound like, just nice people who are, who are saying, hey, wait a minute, I think stuff's getting a little bit serious in the government. I think that, with centers like the National Center for Surveillance that has $390 million of equipment in it, which is just waiting online to tap phones. Bill Clinton tried to give them the bill so they could do it. 1.5 million wiretaps, to say that every week. Governments are, by their very nature, intrusive because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right. That was seen like when they were having trouble with the mafia in New York and Chicago. The FBI decided to tap phones.
No, I'm all for wiretaps. I'm all for the FBI can tap whoever they want. They go to a judge, and they can get as many wiretaps as they want. They can get additional wiretaps. All the judge does is sign a piece of paper for each one. They can wake a judge up at 3 o'clock in the morning, folks. We've got all the laws we need. Did you know that they write more laws in Washington every year than they did the previous year? There's a huge maze of laws, and that's why we have to have so many lawyers in this country. We have more lawyers in America than the other 6 industrialized nations combined. And there's a good reason for that. It's because our laws have gotten so thick, there's so many different overlapping layers of laws to where somebody's got enough money, enough lawyers, they can weevil through and cheat the system. We need to get back towards a common law system. And I'm for writing a new law if it's needed, folks. But, all I'm saying is to sit there and say, well, too much freedom is causing these terrorists to do that. No, you go after personal responsibility. If somebody blows up a bomb and kills somebody, you catch them, you try them, and if they're found guilty, you execute them, you give them one appeal, you execute them after 6 months. That's the end of it. There's no 20 years on death row and all this BS because the death penalty is a deterrent. I don't let some media, statistic tell me it's not, folks. There's been a lot of times, when I was in high school, I wanted to fight somebody, but I didn't get in a fight because I knew that I'd get in trouble, and I didn't want to get in trouble. It's all that, folks. We don't, look, take drunk drivers, for instance. When a drunk driver runs over somebody walking across the street, they don't come and on the news at night talk about the car all night and talk about how the car ran over the person, blah, 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 and talk about how vicious the car was and what kind of car it was and, this and that. Whereas if somebody shoots somebody, there'll be 2 or 3 lines talking about what kind of gun it was and how many shots were fired and how they shot him, and then they might say at the bottom, and they caught the criminal. They need to talk about, if the media is going to editorialize, this is just a suggestion. I'm saying they ought to sit there and they ought to get to the actual nuts and bolts of the issue, and they ought to say, hey, personal responsibility. That horrible tyrant shot Bill Cosby's son today on the highway for no reason. They shouldn't sit there and talk about the gun all day, folks.
Yeah. But there's still that 2% of they say the innocent to get executed. That is one reason why we have a...
Hey, Alex Jones is the first person to tell you that this isn't a perfect world. But let me give you a quick example. We all have seen examples of countless murderers. I always use this example. Kenneth Allen McDuff from right here in Texas, just south here, I believe is where he's from. He killed 3 teenagers back in 1964. He was sentenced to death, pled guilty, all that stuff. got sentenced to death. Guess what? The know-it-all so-called liberals, which really aren't liberals, which are just toady of the states, that who are toadies of big government, came in and said it's wrong to kill. We are higher than that. This is a perfect world, a utopian society we're going to set up. None of that. You will get life with no possibility of parole. Well, guess what? For 14 years, they let out Kenneth Allen McDuff, and he went on a murder spree. Estimated he probably killed 20 to 30 women. He's been convicted of killing 3 women. They found, his semen signs, his hair there. We know it's him. He said, "Oh, I'm innocent." He learned how to do that in prison. And guess what? He got sentenced to death again, folks. So you liberals who say, "Well, what about the 2% that's innocent that gets sentenced to death?" Blah blah blah. Folks, it's not a perfect world. But what I'm saying to you is, what about all the women that he killed? There's the argument. Well, what about those innocent people? You've got to set up certain systems, and nothing's ever going to be perfect, folks. We're all going to die.
Correct, but it shouldn't be written in stone, though. We should always strive for change. We should maybe try different approaches. We can't just go on killing people. We can maybe try lobotomies. We can try this one gentleman up in Houston who was accused of rape, or actually child molestation, was asking for his testicles to be removed. That was a perfect alternative there. Things like that maybe we can do. As a society, we can change and maybe stray away from the violence. Of course, I'm concerned saying that death is violence, and maybe try other alternatives as well.
Well, I followed all that, and look, I could sit here and just ask people probing questions, and it's a real easy argument to always be the questioner. I mean, I've read, rhetoric. I know all the arguments. I try to come up here and be totally truthful, and I got the lights up too high tonight. Excuse me but folks, what it comes down to is this. It's easy to sit there and have this argument or that argument or whatever. This country had its own wrongs, segregation, discrimination back in the 50s, but I'll tell you one thing. That was a great evil that was going on. Each generation has their evils. Now we've got the new evils. And people came along and said, death penalty's wrong in the 60s. They got rid of it, and guess what? The murder rate just skyrocketed. Right. Death and destruction went up almost 3,000%, and now crime's pretty much leveled off because it's gotten to such a high level. Right. So what I'm trying to say to people out there is this. Hey, you need to wake up. You need to understand that it's never going to be a perfect world. And I want to hear your argument. So what should we have done to Kenneth Allen McDuff? He got life with no possibility of parole. That's what the all-knowing liberals did. And then next, guess what? That judge that that community sentence that did that, the Supreme Court thought they knew it all back then, did that. Guess what? He didn't get kept in because it's too expensive, folks. There was no reason to keep these animals, these brutal people that do this. I mean, what do you do to a dog that's bitten 10 people? You kill it. I mean, that's what you do, folks. Lethal injection. I'm all for it. I got a little sister, folks. I got cousins and people. I got a lot of women in my family I care about, and I'm tired of them getting brutalized. And then this know-it-all state that wants everything to degenerate into total bedlam. So then the all-powerful state can step in later and say, "Oh, we've got the answer." No, I want people that I care about to be safer. And I know the statistics from the 1950s, and I know and up to the mid-60s. And as soon as the so-called know-it-alls got in and loosened up all the laws on brutal crime and stuff, it exploded. And, it all's tied into Hollywood, too, with all its degeneracy. Right. And, folks, I go in and I see, I go watch radar movies all the time. I'm not for restrictions. I'm not for censorship in any way. But what I am for is for Hollywood not being like this mad group, of cultural elitists that think they know everything and then just heap blame on everybody else and make fun of conservatives and make fun of people. I think people should be able to espouse whatever they want, and I'm tired of the know-it-alls running roughshod over this country. Because it's like Hollywood goes from one form of degeneracy to another, always having to top it off with something new, and it is getting to the sick minds in our society. It's not going to affect me at all. It's going to desensitize me to violence, but it's not going to affect me because I've got, a golden mean. I've got a control of myself generally. But a lot of people it doesn't have. But, do you have anything else to add? I'll go into some more calls. Well, I appreciate the call, sir. Hello, you're on there.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah, basically, I had a couple things I want to talk about.
Sure, go ahead.
One was, recently in the media, the wordplay that they have, all the...
The spin.
Yeah, right. And particularly with this... about the little girl who was murdered up in Colorado, that John Bonet girl.
That is so grotesque.
Yeah, that's it's a real tragic thing. But all I keep seeing and all I keep hearing in the media is they'll put up some graphic fallen angel or death of a beauty queen and all these these things that
they're making a sick tabloid out of it.
Right. Well, they're stressing sure she was a beautiful girl and they keep talking death of an angel and fallen angel. And I wonder would we even be hearing about this if this was some
little black kid
or that and some poor neighborhood, or her parents weren't rich, or she wasn't as a pretty little girl, and they blow it all out of proportion, and it is a tragic thing. But I just
yeah, I mean, again, I have to say this each time. I'm not for censorship, and I think we should leave it alone. But we should at least point back to Hollywood and point back to all these tabloids and point back to the media, who's always acting like we know best, we understand everything. We're the moguls of society. Listen to us. You're all bad. You're all bad. You horrible Christians out telling people what to do. Blah blah blah. They're sitting there doing that, and we just say that. But look at you. You make money out of death and destruction. You hype it up like it's almost glamorous. And hey, folks, I think that's wrong. So that's what I'm trying to say. We should start intimidating the media back with, by calling editors, calling people and saying, hey, I don't appreciate this. Hey, I don't appreciate that. Because as long as we're lazy, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about was what do you think about these new television ratings? Because to me, it just seems like another little, they're subtle. They're not a real big deal, but just, one more thing that they threw on the pot. There's so many of them, I don't even know what they mean. And, I'm talking about these new television rating systems that are, you see the little box up in the upper left-hand corner before every show, and, what's that all about?
Oh, well, that's what Clinton and the Republicans and everybody got together with the Federal Communications Commission, and they got these voluntary rules with the networks and everybody, and they're putting a rating system up there, and that's all great. I mean, again, I'm not for censorship. I am for a rating system, and I think some stuff should be on late at night. I mean, I'm not for controlling people. I am just for people, us not being lazy and being conscious and watching what our kids are watching, telling our kids not to watch things, and not being lazy and let them sit in front of the television, because it all goes back to personal responsibility. And so, I mean, that's what I'm saying. All I want is a little bit of skepticism of the media, and I want them to think about, wait a minute, this is so bald-faced. On the cover of every newspaper for the last 2 months has been Newt Gingrich, almost every other day. And then there's been a total they have done nothing but ignore Clinton's massive, hardcore corruption. And I mean, that's just incredible, folks. I mean, it's a laundry list. You couldn't write a Hollywood movie about the sordid everything from sex to drug abuse, and that's all Hollywood stuff. Hollywood actually loves that. And that's why I don't get into all the little tabloid stuff on Clinton. We've got concrete treason here. Patent treason, folks. You couldn't ask for a more textbook case. I mean, all the major newspapers print it, but they'll print it one time, and they don't emphasize it. They don't editorialize like they do about Republicans or about people that are trying to move towards freedom. And that caller who called earlier, he scared me. He said, I think all this bombing and all this is coming because of too much freedom. That's crazy. Where are these people getting this? No. We don't want to take away freedom, folks. You'll get more terrorism. Look at Northern Ireland, folks, where the British have had iron rule for hundreds and hundreds of years. And you've got more terrorism there per capita than anywhere else in the world. Look at Israel. They've got checkpoints up, and understandably, you've got, big racial hatreds there or ethnic hatreds going on there. And, they've got checkpoints, machine gun posts everywhere, and they got more violence and more terrorism there. It is not freedom. Freedom is not the problem. I hear these other shows at night sometimes. Chris Ramirez, he's got a good show, but he put me on here on his internet site, put my head on an Elmo body. I thought it was kind of funny, actually. But what they did is they sat there and they and people calling all the time. They say, hey, I think we should have a strong government. I think we should have wiretaps. And they're being serious. It's like this generational X thing of, and Chris doesn't say this, but his callers do, that it's cool just to give in to it and say, hey, who cares? Let's be part of an authoritarian state. It's no big deal. And I think that's crazy.
Let me, if I may, end my formal remarks there. I don't believe we got more than 5 minutes, but Dr. Faulkner, would it be useful if I took some questions here before we leave?
General McCaffrey, Alex Jones from KJFK Radio in Austin, Texas. I fully agree with you on the scourge of narcotics and their destructive consequences on the human brain. But something I find interesting is the massive evidence coming out in the past of our own government and other international organizations' involvement in drug smuggling. In fact, 2 days ago, you called Colombia an emergency situation, and you're calling for $1 billion and more funding. Well, your head of counter narcotics and drug operations in Colombia, his wife was just caught shipping in masses of cocaine into the United States. This is from the Washington Post, sir. Also have Reuters right here on it.
Is there a question?
Yes, that's my question. I just wanted to state my facts because, we're in this world where you ask a serious question, you're a kook. Let's talk about the drug running of this government.
Last time I got that question was the first press conference I had in Washington was an older reporter. And I said, I don't know. I've been serving the country for 32 years. I'm not running any drugs. Louis Free, I don't think is. I think the poor wife of the Milgram commander in Colombia underscores the problem. Drug abuse and its consequences are not a problem confined to one subsegment of the population. It affects all of us. Corruption, illegality. 4 months ago, I visited one of my best friends, lifelong friends. The 4 of us grew up together in the Army. Very senior officer, 3 beautiful kids. The baby is 21 years old now. Kid looks like Christopher Reeves, handsome lad. We had a little chat there, the 3 of us, visiting the 2 parents and the boy. And he's in a wheelchair with major, permanent, short-term and long-term cognitive impairment. And they've chopped away the muscle mass of his right arm and right leg because he overdosed on heroin and was in a coma for 42 days. That's the face of drug abuse. And we've arrested former senior officials of the Department of Justice, mayors, sheriffs, officers in the National Guard. There are 38 cases of corruption in the Customs Service in the last 3 years. By the way, when I say that, I don't mean to imply, nor do I believe, that this government is seriously jeopardized by drug-based corruption.
Well, I wasn't accusing you of drug running, sir.
No, I just...
The NSA and the CIA, and y'all just make sure everything, go after the cowboys. They give you a target to go after.
What do you got, Charlie?
McCaffrey, I think most of us in the academic community applaud your goal of putting more emphasis on treatment.
They got hurry. I know. He's right there, Alex.
Legalize.
John, are you there?
Man, better hurry, Alex.
John, are you there?
Come in. You got to get a form to be able to... I'll get make sure that...
John, you just missed it. I just confronted McCaffrey on the government drug running for the 2nd time. Asked him a question.
There he is, right there.
Exiting. General McCaffrey, there's a lot of documentation on the drug running, sir. There's massive stacks of evidence, General McCaffrey. I'm glad to walk down the hall, bud. Are you violating my civil rights? Or my God-given rights, I should say better.
No, this is closed press right now. Thank you.
Oh, close the press right now?
This walk is yes.
Oh, this walk is.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
If you'll respect our...
There are people walking all over the place. They got some Army intelligence gentlemen following me along.
Falsely reporting.
Does this go out?
Military personnel right
Oh, really? No? The general isn't here? There weren't a bunch of Navy people in uniforms?
He's non-active duty. Thank you.
Oh, well, I know that. He's active cover-up. Yes. Thank you very much. Y'all have fun in the office of the dean. Well, anyways, Stanton, are you there? All right, we're going out nationwide right now. I'll get the tape on tonight. I'll also get it to Genesis Communications. I just asked some simple questions, hitting with hardcore evidence about the drug running of his head of counter-narcotics down in Colombia. So there you have it going on. The wife of Colonel Hyatt last week being caught shipping in large quantities of cocaine into New York City. So we're just asking him why his head man's wife was caught engaging in this behavior and reading the actual news reports. And they're getting extremely, extremely angry. They're in the office of the dean right now. They've got their Secret Service, their Army intelligence milling around. One of them was bumping into me just a few moments ago during the break.
And me.
I asked him as he was exiting what exactly was happening and why this was going on. And, well, basically they said, there are no Army personnel here. They're on active duty. Well, we all know this. We know who they are. They're out there selling us this lie, John. No, well, he started saying, well, yes, we busted a lot of government personnel shipping in drugs, but this is all just a small incidents. It's no big deal. None of us should worry about it. Well, anyways, John, I will have updates tomorrow from 1 to 2 o'clock, or perhaps I could drop by CSIN at the end of your program about 20 minutes away. If you would like me to come by and I can settle down a little bit. I literally had Army intelligence or whoever they are bumping into me and trying to stop me from asking questions. Spears. Hi, I'm Alex Jones. I have a question for you.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that are not even considered middle class that are losing their homes due to property taxes. And we have seen the rates of property taxes go up and up and up, even while people can't sell their homes because of the watershed laws. What's your opinion on that?
I really don't have an opinion on that. I wasn't aware that a lot of people are losing their homes.
Oh, nobody's losing their homes?
I didn't say nobody, but not a lot of people.
A lot of people aren't?
No, a lot of people aren't.
How do you feel about making people support public schools where the test scores have dropped from number 1 50 years ago to number 49th now with their property taxes? Isn't that a form of feudalism?
I haven't the foggiest notion of what you're talking about.
Well, you do tax talk.
Yes, we do.
I mean, I heard everybody congratulating themselves on here about it.
We collect the property taxes for jurisdictions in Travis County as the Constitution of the state of Texas requires.
Yes,
so I'm
what I
probably
heard-
not the person you need to be talking to.
How many bureaucrats were here today? About 100?
I have no idea.
And they were all being congratulated for the departments going from, I heard one parole officer and truancy officer bragging, they went from 7 to 107.
I don't know what you're talking about. The ceremony in there was for years of service to Travis
I
County.
understand. How many homes will be lost due to the 13 million overage on the county budget?
I'm not sure that any homes will be lost.
Well, aren't y'all going to have to turn up the heat and squeeze some more people?
We're not squeezing people. We're simply collecting the taxes and
Simply enforcing the law.
enforcing the law.
Ma'am, I'm not being sarcastic when I say this. Was Martin Luther King bad whenever he went and sat in at the lunch counters and was taken to jail and beaten because it was the law that black people couldn't use water fountains or go in and sit at lunch counters? Or what about when that one lady refused the law because she thought it was wrong and sat at the front of the bus?
What about it?
What about Rosa Parks?
What about her?
Well, you act like all laws are holy and sacred and that nothing's wrong with them. My grandparents have had their house attempted to be stolen. They're over 75 years old. They live in a modest South Austin home. Something's wrong here.
We don't steal anyone's home.
You don't steal homes.
No, we don't.
Y'all don't put liens on homes?
There's a tax lien that is attached at January 1st of every year for every property in the county.
So you're not stealing homes, I see.
That's correct. We're not stealing homes.
Oh, they're your homes. I see. They haven't paid, so they're your homes.
No,
They're your slaves, aren't they?
no.
Because you're the local viceroy.
I'm none of that. I'm a local tax collector. Period.
You're the local tax collector. How do you sleep at night?
Very well, thank you.
You sleep very well knowing the families you've wrecked.
We've not wrecked any families. We've not taken any homes.
You've not taken any homes. You're saying the county's never taken any homes.
I didn't say never.
Oh, you said we haven't taken any homes.
I'm not aware of it.
I've seen y'all listing the homes that have been taken. I've been mailed things in the mail about auctions and homes that are being sold by the hundreds.
Those are not necessarily people's homes where people are living.
What do you mean?
There
They're
are
houses?
lots of vacant lots.
No.
They're vacant lots.
I've seen you. This lady right here. She's having her house stolen.
Well, she
By the
needs to
county.
take it up with someone else.
She has. She's here every week. Every week.
I just sued her. I have a suit against
Okay, last question. You say that you're not selling people's homes. You show the foreclosed homes on TV that you're taking. You've shown them on TV.
home
now, ma'am.
On Channel 17.
Thank
What
you.
about my cameraman? You're trying to steal his house.
Well, he can come to the office and we'll talk about
He
his
can come
house.
to the office. Ma'am, hey, we're not some type of evil people. Ma'am, and you said that we're a bunch of conspiracy theorists, Sheriff. You know these helicopters are being used, Sheriff. These helicopters are being used for surveillance. You know they're putting flare on them. You admitted it.
Yes, we're putting flare on.
What about the feds? We stopped the Delta Force. What about the Delta Force, Sheriff?
I don't know anything about the Delta Force, Mr. Jones, and I'd ask that you get the microphone out of my face.
You want the microphone out of your face? I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry for trying to report the news. Look. Yeah, my name's Alex Jones. You know who I am, Sunlightener. Now, just Sunlightener to me, just another bureaucrat. Now, I am here, and I have been nice the last few months, and I know y'all personally don't care. I haven't even been coming down here. When I did come down, I was polite. But people want to go around and call me a conspiracy theorist, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and start taping y'all and showing your lies, showing your back dealing, show your backstabbing, and I'm going to just make it my mission to sit there and talk about you guys. And by the way, I've started on my first steps to be a national on the radio. Now, this is unbelievable. The Delta Force is coming back. Not some foggy conspiracy theory like Judge Elshire likes to go and tell his little pomps and friends. Of course, Elshire's on the telephone right now, a disrespectful minion. Now, Delta is coming back. We stopped them. We went down and confronted Chief Nee. We had a good police chief like Ali Phillips from San Antonio to stop them. May 5th, May 6th, and May 7th, San Antonio Express News will talk about them blowing up buildings and shooting into all-night restaurants. I know it's compartmentalized to that area. That's because of the news blackout and the control. The local press down there saw some leadership in Howard Peak, the mayor, and the police chief. A rare thing, the first city in the country to stand up to the secret military teams. They were coming in late June. That was back in May. We caused a lot of problems. It stopped Delta from coming in and training, at least with the open consent of this court and the city council. Here it is. City of Austin and Travis County emergency workers are scheduled to receive training in November under the initiative. Workers in San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas received training earlier this year. Pure lie. They were thrown out, and they're not emergency workers. They are the Delta Force. And in this article from the Statesman yesterday, that was the Monday, August 3rd, people that want to check it out. They have experts saying, why is President Clinton, out of these billions of dollars, just spending 3% on emergency care? Why is it going to the Pentagon? Why is it going to National Guard and Special Marine and Delta Force teams? On and on. Wow, another conspiracy. I talked to Nelda Wells Spears out there, the lady that takes people's houses. And she said they don't take houses. Well, I see it on Channel 17 when they show all the houses they've taken that they're selling. I guess it's a conspiracy when we got the sheriff, Margot Frazier, to admit that the helicopters, 2 of them, are going to be used for surveillance with infrared, and they are going to be used by the sheriff's department. I guess the people who are out camping and stuff, when a helicopter flies over and checks them out for a couple of minutes and scares them, I guess that's a conspiracy. I guess that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I guess that's a conspiracy. I guess Stalin and Hitler and Mao, I guess they were all just foggy conspiracies. They didn't kill masses of people. They didn't suck off people. Now, I'm not saying y'all are like that. But you're pompous and you're full of yourselves. You're part of this fad-driven junior high culture. There's some people that are willing to take sacrifices. There's some people that are willing to stand up for what's happening. To everybody out there in Austin, San Antonio is free of the secret military teams and the federal payoff money. Ali Phillips, they attempted to bribe him. I have it on tape. I'll re-air it for the 25th time tonight at around 9:30 on cable channel 10. This is not a conspiracy, and I challenge you to tune in and see the unedited 20 minutes of a police chief warning the public. Another conspiracy. This is Waffen-SS in our streets. Clinton is militarizing the country. And I am Paul Revere here in Central Texas. I'm warning the public. But I'm not saying to arms. They want that. They want to slowly, incrementally turn up the heat. Stop the Delta Force. Call your commissioners. They'll act like you're crazy. They'll act like you're nuts. But tune in and see the chief of police. See Stephen Berry, former Delta Force commander. See it and hear it all for yourselves tonight at 9:30 on Channel 10. Sir, you let others go farther. I'm telling you, Elshire, I've tried to back down and be nice and just say, well, they're just bureaucrats. But you want to go around and badmouth me on the radio and stuff? I'm going to counter you. This is reality, not conspiracy. It's not funny, Elshire. You do have Y2K and all the rest that's coming up. I feel sorry for you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, because I'm not going to be out there with the guillotines. Okay? I'm going to be supporting you and defending you. Don't you understand the veneer of civilization is very thin, Elshire? Very, very thin, Elshire. You don't have a mandate. You are a liar. You're lying to the public. It's disgusting. Thank you, Elshire, for subverting the Constitution.
Good morning, ma'am.
Stop the Delta Force. Stop them now.
Okay, my name is Florence. Excuse me. My name is Florence Yerdy. This is my second time speaking with y'all. The first time I spoke was because I was told Delta Force was coming. I asked y'all not to let them come here. They would be training on the east side. The danger I felt for other people and the freedom taken. I'm a little nervous because I'm looking at this door and I'm seeing all these officers out here and I'm wondering if we have freedom to speak, why are we intimidated? I shouldn't feel no fear. why these officers got here. I'm not understanding this. Each time, I'm not understanding this. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with this picture. And as American citizens, we have to look at the full picture. There is something wrong with this picture. I know somebody here beside me will see it. Okay, I want to know why. I don't know who y'all calling me, man. I'm calling just for why are they coming here? I live on the east side. You cannot go up and down a block. And if anybody doubt me, come to the east side, ride around. There are police everywhere. I'm riding with a senior citizen yesterday, and she got so nervous, she started making mistakes because the police was there. First time in over 20 years, she's got a ticket. We don't need no more. Okay, if they come in to train to do something, please, somebody, pray tell me, what are they here to do? What are they here to do? I'm sorry. I and all of people east of 35 need to know. The police officers, we got plenty here. We don't need no more training. We got the military, San Antonio, big time over there. Killeen, big time over there. We got Camp Mabry. So what do we need these other military trainers to come in here and do anything? What is this for? There's a bigger picture here. There's a bigger picture. And you know who's in trouble? The minorities, the poor people. They're going to be attacked at first. They're going to be labeled. They're going to be branded. And they're going to be disrespected. By whom? Who's doing this? Who's in control? I'm sorry, somebody's in power here. And somebody's manipulating us. And we need to know, okay, why is Delta Force here, or whomever they are? Why are they training here? Why are they going to train with whomever they're going to train? What's the reason for it? It has to be a reason. Please, somebody, tell us, the citizens of Austin, why. Okay? We are being targeted. American Statesman have it in their paper that these people are here coming to train. Now, if American Statesman is lying, then somebody get on their butt and say, hey, it's a lie. And if you're not going to get on American Statesman's butt, then it got to be the truth. They telling us the truth. Why isn't all the local TV stations telling us that these people coming here to train? What? Somebody's hiding something. And we need to know.
Come out with
I'm sorry, don't mean no disrespect, but don't want to be disrespected.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good morning, John Foreman, Texas Best Seminars, and the producer of In Your Face Thursday at 10, Channel 10, 11 o'clock to 12:30. I've got a cute little story for you. I probably won't be able to finish it, so I'll probably have to come back next week. Some years ago, an old trapper from North Dakota hitched up his horses to a Studebaker wagon and packed his traps and drove south. Several weeks later, he stopped in a small town just north of the Oak for the warning, now could you direct me to the swamp? Well, yeah, it's due south. But they begged the stranger not to go because they knew he'd meet a terrible fate. Sell me 10 sacks of corn and help me. It's a cute story, and it has.
We could put a little line under this.
Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll be back next week. But I want to stop the absence assistance, the ASAP program, and remember, organized crime in America begins with the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
North Austin abode of contrails being formed. And Friday at 1 p.m. on my show on Channel 16, I viewed it. So I hope the kooks from the radio station had a moment of peace when they saw my film. And you can expect to see more of them. They are trying to control the weather, not only with that, but with HAARP, which I know everybody's heard of. Excuse me. Having spent quite a few years in Special Forces, Fleet Marines, I know why those boys are here, and I know what they're going to do. I know how they do it. In fact, most of them were nursing on their mama when I was doing what they do now. You don't want these folks here. I'm not saying they're coming here to attack Austin and destroy villages. but they don't care about accidental things. And they have an agenda, a slow-working agenda for all the citizens here, including yourself. And lastly, I want to answer a question for you, Judge Elshire, that you were asked a couple of weeks ago and you couldn't answer, I guess, or didn't want to. Doesn't matter. Your flag back there is an Admiralty flag, which makes this a military court. Other than that, God bless you all, and keep adult force out. It's bad business. Our local law enforcement doesn't need their training. And I will take measures to keep them out through channels I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So you're just over here making sure we're good.
Was on the phone right before they showed up.
Good morning.
I'm telling you, man.
Hey, did Elshire call y'all over? Hey, there's some property out there y'all need to go enforce the IRS taking. There's people that are being evil. In fact, hey, Mike drives a bus for a living, and they take withholding from him and his wife, but he just got a thing from the IRS that he underpaid 3 years ago, so with back interest, it's about $4,000. Y'all can come take his house. If he stands up, y'all can shoot him.
You're making me take on you.
No, we're talking about his house. He's evil. They take withholding out of his check. He's causing a problem. Don't you know a criminal when you see one? Don't you know evil?
There he is.
Get his property. Get it.
Take his camera.
Get his property. He's got property. Nelda Wells. Listen, you don't think Nelda Wells Spears, that old whatever, is going to be able to take his property? We need you, Commander. Order your forces in. We need that property.
What have you been doing?
Oh, nothing much. Just screwing around quite a bit.
It's been quiet.
Hold on. Be serious.
Huh?
So, sir, you're saying that they did call y'all over here because we were here?
I don't know who called, but they just said, just come on over and just hang around. So we're here. You're taking away from us from our regular job.
But there's so much property out there to seize.
We don't
Why are
do
you
that.
worried about us?
We don't do property.
Oh, protect the bureaucrats. I see.
We don't do property.
Y'all have got your people in black to protect you. Yes. I'm just wondering where the twin thunderbolts are.
Let's get back to the
Where's the twin thunderbolt? You
main
wouldn't.
issue is what did they call? I mean, that is ridiculous.
Hey,
What's that?
when are they going to start wearing? Hey, hold on.
Oh,
When are y'all going to start wearing the caps with the little aluminum skull and crossbones? So stylish.
They are stylish, but it's a little bit warm this time of year for them.
I got a question. You asked
Did
the
you
question.
get that?
No, ask this question. Do they call?
You didn't get that?
Do they call the SWAT when 24 and all them show up? We're the press.
Yes, sir. Since I don't have a criminal record, I'm just asking, since they call the SWAT team for the second time when I'm here, how come y'all don't do it when the 24 comes?
They usually don't go in there raising hell, Alex. The SWAT team, 2 of us.
Oh, yeah.
2 of us.
Yeah, plus they got some more sheriff department over there swarming around.
We was in the wrong place at the wrong time again.
Oh, no, that's not what it is.
No.
Oh, call the SWAT team on us again. No, but seriously, you were talking about that stylish. Y'all going to start wearing the little death's head, the little skull.
Alex, you know that's BS.
A couple of lightning bolts here on the side.
BS.
Well, you got the boots, you got the outfit, hell.
Yeah, these boots are comfortable.
I know, all we need is a Waffen-SS. Overfuhren.
Well, Mike, tell me about this new movie.
Lieutenant Beck, commander of the Travis County SWAT team. Look, they call y'all over here again and some sheriff's department people when all we're doing is coming to speak. Isn't it more violent what the IRS does and what the county tax assessor Nelda Wells Spears and all the rest of their hordes of bureaucrats eating out the people's substance? Isn't that violent to take people's homes with force?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Alex.
Everybody said, isn't that criminal?
We don't get involved in stuff like that.
But you do get involved in a little bit of asset forfeiture seizure.
No.
Y'all just collect the goods.
No. The only thing the SWAT team does here in Travis County, besides SWAT duties, is serve felony warrants.
What does the sheriff's department do? They do the asset.
That's law enforcement for the county. No, we don't do that stuff.
No, I'm saying, but the county does asset forfeiture.
I don't know. I know the sheriff's department doesn't.
Really?
We don't assist IRS or anything like that.
Well, they have to. The sheriff has to go with the IRS. They always bring the sheriff when they go.
Maybe some of the constables do, but that's not the sheriff's department.
So it's constables.
Probably.
So Lieutenant Beck, who aids the IRS?
How do you mean aid them?
Who goes with them when they take the family home?
I don't know.
I've actually done stories on IRS agents. Some people. I've done stories on IRS agents, some resembling elephants, coming in with a dog deal on their shoes and tracking around people's houses and saying, "I'm going to bid on that. I'm going to bid on this."
That ain't cool. That ain't cool.
Oh, we can't talk about that.
I've been here, and I've been at the sheriff's department 24 years, and I've worked nearly every assignment here, and we have never done asset forfeitures against, IRS.
But you've done asset forfeitures for other stuff.
No. Now you're talking about the narcotics guys that, like for drug smugglers, taking their cars and stuff. We have done that.
Yeah.
But that's the narcotics stuff that we don't.
Well, Central Texas is a lot better than Florida and Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
They do it a big time.
Oh, yeah. If you want to hurt them, that'll hurt them. But we don't do going out on homes with IRS.
Who does that? The constables?
I'm going to guess. You might talk with Elfont over here. They may do.
I'm serious. I want, in about a month or two, and I'll promote it on the radio and everything, we'll raise money for charity, and part of it can go to y'all's favorite charity. Let's have that shooting contest.
All right. I'd forgotten about that.
I've got you, and I will defeat you.
That's opinion, man. I forgot.
You realize that I'll outshoot you.
Now, you're going to let me take one of my guys, right?
Yeah.
One of my snipers against you.
Yeah.
And
I want to shoot. I'm going to try to shoot against you.
Well, we can do that. We can do that.
That'll be taken out of context.
Oh, I know.
That'll be
And everything, so.
Oh, sir, let me tell you, I haven't even shot my rifle in about a year, but if I get that thing out and go to the range one time, it's over. I'll be shooting in the same hole. You don't believe that, do you?
Well, if you can line it up, let me know. If it's for charity, yeah, we'll be interested in that.
Okay, we're going to have that shooting contest.
We will. Set it up.
Commander of the Waffen SS, thank you. Where are you called over? With your other forces?
They're out working. And we just happened to be in the office. I was doing some paperwork, yeah. Well, my office is right across.
Well, who called you?
I don't know. Seriously, I don't know.
You just got a call from the chief saying.
No, it wasn't me. It was one of the girls, one of the secretaries, says that y'all may want to go over there. So, but there's more than Alex Jones. There's some people come in here that can get pretty disruptive. So
talking about that one guy who's trying to get his property back. The city sold some land and cut off his right of way, and now his property's worthless.
I don't know, who is that? Barstow?
Yeah, the guy's been begging for years.
Yeah, they've been going through that for years. So, huh? Well, I don't know the particulars of that. But they do. You have to have some kind of rules over here. You can't be up hollering.
What happened to your head, Commander? Busting through a door?
That's stairs. That's a sailboat.
Our Waffen SS commanders get in the field. They fight and make sure the property is transferred.
And we fall downstairs.
Right. So there you have it. Your Waffen SS commander of the regional governorship, Lieutenant Beck.
In person. In person.
I'm going to get this. Let's be serious, Mike. Get it all. Lieutenant Beck, we just turned the camera off. And of course, we've been joking around this morning because you're a good guy, even though the bureaucrats called you again, and your associates. But you said that you don't know where we get it, that the Delta Force is coming. We've played the chief of police in San Antonio. He threw him out for trying to bribe him. It'll be on tonight at 9:30 on Channel 10. I mean, this is, no, they're coming. They're coming.
No, they're not. They're not coming.
The deputy chief of police said it. Well, we stopped them. We raised hell.
Unless
they were coming in late June. Now they're...
Unless Chief Mills knows something that I don't, but this last, was it 2 months ago when they were in San Antonio?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they had contacted me and I had spoken with them. And their intentions were to come here and do some training in Austin, but the incident down in San Antonio soured them, and they left. So,
Well, wait a minute. I was told. Now, see, they said that to you. We're soured. We're mad, sir. Mills said on Sammy and Bob, other programs, I talked to Chief Nee face to face. They were coming, but after we did the reports, show the chief of police, they tried to bribe the chief of police. If you tune in tonight, you'll be able to see that. Don't you realize that? I got it on tape. They tried to bribe L.A. Philippus in San Antonio.
I don't know that. I don't know.
Well, they got billions of Clinton money. Do you trust Clinton controlling our elite forces for himself? Did you read yesterday's Statesman cover page? All these experts are saying, why is only 3% of this anti-terrorism funding, these billions of dollars, going to actual rescue? It's all going to secret military teams, Marines, in the streets with local police, Delta.
I wish they'd funnel some of it my way.
Oh, you want some of that? Few armored personnel carriers.
Yeah, there we go.
Some more stormtroopers?
No, we don't need more personnel. We need better equipment and stuff like that.
Well, I'm not afraid of police with good firearms. I think y'all should have automatic, semi-automatic, whatever you want. But what I'm concerned about is the general public. The government always trying to disarm us. Isn't it true that just criminals and then the government will have guns? Because criminals don't follow laws. Why should we just follow law-abiding citizens?
That's an entirely different issue.
How do you stand on that?
I am for the citizens' right to bear arms.
Well, that's being taken away. Brady 2 is fixing to go through.
Well, I'm against the Brady bill and all that, but
Oh, well, so's the Supreme Court. But the states and Clinton just ignored their ruling an unconstitutional on states' rights issues, the 10th Amendment. Clinton doesn't care. They don't follow the government. Clinton does what he wants.
Clinton's time's about up.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, Commander,
it's about up.
Again, your strike forces have done well. Another victory.
Here we are. Alex, you always turn things.
I like the Cobra, the Strike Cobra. I got to show them that. I'll see you, Commander. Now, if we just turned them in and. Yeah, how many county helicopters total?
And they're both Starflight.
And that's all they do, huh?
They're both Starflight, and Starflight involves all the functions that are permitted. They use them for tactical purposes on fire when there's major fires. They use them for EMS as their primary mission. They have also used them for law enforcement. We've discussed that in here, and some darn good examples.
Well, sir, I'm here to ask questions, and so, I mean, I'm not trying to run over you. I understand I'm not trying to run over you. The point I'm trying to make is when I came in here, what was it, 3 or 4 months ago on this issue, or 2 or 3 months ago, it was almost like it was a joke, me saying that these were going to be used for law enforcement. And at that time, and I have the tape, you were saying that it wasn't going to be used for law enforcement, that it was Starflight to save people. You said it over and over again.
Your recitation of the record is the record was, at the time, there was a request from the sheriff to actually have one of the helicopters we currently have, instead of trading it in, to assign it to the sheriff's office to have full time. We declined to do that. However, we have, on a restricted basis, subject to control by EMS, not by the sheriff, offered to allow the EMS helicopter to be used within the budget for operating when they need it on incident calls, and when they are proceeding with a limited amount of time available to try to assist in law enforcement. The examples that they have given and when they have used Starflight make all the sense in the world to me, especially for chases, for missing persons, things like that. Those are good applications for a helicopter.
What about the...
But we're not going to buy a helicopter in this budget.
So, what you're saying is, it's really apples and oranges, but the comments have been that I'm a conspiracy theorist and making up wild delusions. All I had was the sheriff saying one thing, you saying another, news reports on radio and television about them being used for law enforcement, and that's why I had a little trouble with it as it being called Starflight, and here it being included with the sheriff's command center. Now, I know you say now y'all don't know if they're going to be combined, but in the original order...
Well, no, that's not an order. That's just an agenda.
No, sir, I'm not talking about this agenda. Remember, you probably don't. You have a lot of things on your plate all the time. I remember I went upstairs and I got the print out the purchase orders, and you were arguing with the people about how many sinks and why is this over budget and all the rest of that, and the rappelling ropes and the 3-acre warehouse.
Trimming the budget.
Yeah, trimming the budget. Well, it was over what y'all had appropriated.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been allowed.
Exactly. But that's what I'm talking about here. You acted like I was a mental patient because I said this is for law enforcement when it is for law enforcement. Now, it's still foggy here. Is it going to be included? Are the helicopters going to be based at the new Sheriff's Department Command Center?
Probably not, based on what I can see right now.
So-
Probably not.
So what has changed?
Even if they were, there was no proposal to base them at the sheriff's place, as opposed to consider co-locating facilities so that we didn't go by one site only for one purpose and another site for another and continue to scatter the county functions generally, but to see whether or not.
So I see.
We went out and solicited proposals from people who would offer to sell the property to us to see if we'd like to have some functions in one location, some in others, all of them in one place. We are currently evaluating those proposals, and I would hope to have that back here in a couple of weeks.
So
My own personal impression right now is that it is not likely that the Starflight hangar and the sheriff's substation will be on the same location.
Well, I think that that's a good idea because not for this court, but future courts, it's very easily stepped into, especially with what we have going on with the federal forces and the secret programs, which aren't so secret anymore.
You do understand, don't you, that we're talking about the hangar, the garage, the mechanic shop. It's not the base. So even if they were there, when the helicopters were there, that's not the base.
Well, sir, I'm sorry. It's just when I read the original packet, which I have at home, that you then told me was old, even though it was like 4 or 5 days old. The bureaucrats were in here, the people that sell y'all, the people that hundreds of millions of dollars flow past y'all. Y'all are just sitting there wildly rubber stamping half the time because even if you try to... Well, I'm not saying that you don't try to trim the budget, okay? And there's no hope for the city. But the only point I'm trying to make is I read it, and there it was. It didn't say could be or may be separate. And if you go look at it, I sure don't want me to sit here and start reading stuff to you.
No, we honestly did see if the idea of the campus, be it 1 function, 2 functions, or 3 functions, was going to work. And as Judge Elshire said, you have to ask us at this moment in time. These things do change, sometimes by the hour. At this moment in time, the hangar function for Starflight is going to be in a separate location from where we think we're headed for the Sheriff's Command Center.
Well,
but we did look to see if there were some economies of scale in terms of if you lump together 1, 2, or 3 functions in the same place, that while they're doing site work and leveling work, that you might get some economies of scale as opposed to doing it at 3 different places.
I understand cheaper to do it all at one place. My only point is this.
Maybe not. That's why when we put out the RFP, we allowed any and all those possibilities so that we'd be in the best position to choose what we thought was best for the community.
I just have 2 more points, and then I'll get out of here before I get a parking ticket. What it comes down to is I have been to other cities like Houston, Los Angeles, doing documentaries and things on what's happening with the militarization. And in Houston, they have the Sheriff's Department Command Complex, and I've got video of it. It says the sign right there, and you've got 13 Apache, about 10 Cobra and about 3 Apache attack helicopters. Then you've got some Bells and some Jet Rangers. I mean, this is just insane. I've got Lair News Hour, I've got 60 Minutes admitting that all these free goods are going to local police departments. Now, I know we're not that big of a city, but when I see something that's called a Sheriff's Department Command Center connected to this, that's why I raise the alarm, because other cities are doing this. And regardless of y'all maybe thinking, that I'm a loudmouth or whatever, I really am concerned about these issues. And the thing I'm really concerned with is the flare footage. I am very concerned with the infrared they have. Some of the newer infrared can literally see heat sources right through walls, or come down at an angle and see right through your shades, right through your window. And that is very, very, very dangerous. And the Supreme Court just ruled in a case about 3 months ago, I don't have it in front of me here, that to use flare without a warrant is illegal if you're aiming it at a home. And I assure you, this is an invasion of privacy. I don't have a problem with the police having use of a helicopter to track someone that's running or something like this, even though we've seen the statistics on police chases. It's just, there's just a lot going on here, and I would hope that...
The hangar, we've done that, but talking about the helicopter is not itself, and its use is getting a little bit far away.
Okay, so to talk about the helicopters that go in the hangar is not on the topic.
This posting. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's just it. I see this society, and I'm just explaining myself to y'all, unable to come to grips with what's happening when we've got a president transferring nuclear guidance systems to the Chinese, and then they transfer it to Iran. And so, no, hold on. This all connects to here on the local scale. We're asleep at the wheel. Y2K is a serious problem. Look, we're in deep trouble. And y'all don't know what the feds are doing. They act like they're a bunch of bumbling idiots. They know exactly what they're doing. They're very sophisticated.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment from item 4?
The United Nations says. And the power to tax, the power to destroy, is the power to control. They have doubled the rates at the parks from $10 to $20, $30, $40. And now what they're planning to do is I have a head ranger on film saying they've doubled the rates, and I think they're going to double them again, and I think it's a good idea. So it's all part of making us pay more to use our parks. They're going to shut down Yellowstone to cars, make you bus in, make you pay exorbitant prices, and the United Nations will get part of that money. And Ted Turner's giving them $1 billion of Time Warner stock. The United Nations now owns part of ACTV, part of the cable system. It's been in the papers, okay? Time Warner, they're getting $1 billion in stock. What does that mean? This is not me, this is fact. People can check it out for themselves. Ted Turner's already given them cable systems all over the world free of charge.
Why did he do that?
Because in the future, all media will become state-run media, just like the film Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It'll all be state-run. He understands that. We're headed into a world government, and the banks, foreign banks since '93, have owned half of our debt or more.
Right.
And it's getting worse. So we're owned now by Europe. It's criminal. We didn't ask for this debt. They forced it on us. They paid off our politicians. They print the money. It's all a big Ponzi scheme, a big scam. We've been conned. No one seems to care because it's not fashionable to care. The people are a bunch of sheep. This is real.
Cattle.
We're cattle, and so we're owned by the Bundesbank and the Bank of England and the Swiss and others and the Japanese. So they own us. They're going to start getting our property. Our private property rights are gone.
Can they collect on that?
Well, that's why they're getting ready to disarm the public.
Right.
You know, that's why they will stop at nothing to disarm, because law-abiding citizens will give up their firearms because we're law-abiding. They don't care if criminals have them. They don't care, you know, if the EPA is buying armored personnel carriers and
Right.
all this BS that's going on.
And then you got the TV telling you, you know, what to think and what to do, and nothing's happening, you know. It's
Really, all it is America's fixing to have new owners, okay? But the problem is the owners we've got are a bunch of despots over in Europe.
right.
And so, you know, get ready for them to stir up race war and everything else you can imagine.
Man, well, it's been great talking to you.
I'm telling you, it's coming. I didn't used to want to believe this. I used to make fun of people that were into this. I knew something was wrong. And I thought the media had a bias. I thought the media were a bunch of people that thought they were liberals that were just elitists.
They're bought and paid for.
Now I find out they're totally bought and paid for. They're manipulative. They have an absolute agenda. This is done premeditated. And they love it if you call them liberals because they go, oh, we're just stupid liberals. No, they are fascist liars wearing little masks of liberalness. And we better do something real fast. Even the Libertarian Party now is getting on C-SPAN and saying this country's fascist to the bone. Everybody's waking up, man. Either you're waking up or you're an idiot.
Just got to listen to what's going on.
Yeah, I appreciate your call.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I want to get a close-up of this. This is the New American. This is this month's issue, the September 29th issue. If I can get you in here, do a zoom into this crudely in a fashion. That's the United Nations. That's the United Nations burning a Somali child over a flame. And last month's issue, the August 18th, had in there Smokey the Bear saying, UN land grab in progress, keep out. And that's exactly what's going on. And these are the first people to attack George Bush and to attack Senator Thompson. But they'll really attack the Democrats because the Democrats, again, have got everybody conned. And I don't know why you want to be conned out there. Okay, there they are burning a Somali. And then there they are cutting a Somali child's head off. If we can get a close-up of that, we'll get one later. And then there they are stomping on somebody's face. That's UN peacekeepers. By the way, we backed the Croats in Bosnia. We're against the Serbs because they were against the Nazis in World War II. The Serbs were against the Nazis in World War II when Hitler went into Croatia or in Bosnia, and that was called the Balkans then. And Hitler backed the Croats. Okay, and that's who we're backing today. We're backing who the Nazis backed. And did you hear John Chelikashvili just retired again, the son of a Polish death camp operator? Most of the death camps were in Poland. So does it anything to you that would be going on? So real fast, we will go to your calls. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Yes, you're on the air. Hello, you're on the air. All right, you're off the air. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi.
Yes.
For the caller that called about his friend who had Gulf War syndrome.
Yes.
Doxycycline can be found, and the person that gave me this information said she does not recommend you do it.
Well, hold on. It's not called syndrome anymore. They've admitted it's not a mental problem. It's Gulf War illness now.
Excuse me, illness.
Yeah, the media wants you to think it was a bunch of nutballs, but when people get Parkinson's disease at 25 years old and melt away, and they find sarin nerve gas and biological agents, chemical and biological, in their blood, we know it's real.
Well, the only thing I called to show was to convey some information about the doxycycline.
Oh, we can't give out any information on this program, even if it would help people that are dying of germ warfare. I'm sorry. I will be thrown off the air immediately.
I got this on Austin Access.
Okay, you can tell us. Be very careful. I may have to cut you off.
Okay, that's all right. I want to...
No, don't do that.
and thank you for letting me
Yeah, I
say
appreciate
that.
your call. Now, that's not commercialism. I don't know. We're not talking about commercial things here on the program, even though it's not commercial. All right, when we get a close-up, tell me when you're ready, guys, and I'll show these shots from the New American this month. Whenever y'all are ready. Y'all ready? Okay, there's the Somali child being burnt over the flame by UN peacekeepers, and this was actually in the alternative press. We get another close-up in there, or focus it a little bit. And down here, they're cutting somebody's head off. Well, they're stomping the face on the bottom. Right here, they're cutting somebody's head off. All right. There you go. It's kind of hard to pick up. You know, we're not Peter Jennings. But anyways, that's pretty much what it comes down to. And that's the New American right there. Here's media bypass. And it says, where will you draw the line? It shows a politician running past somebody. It says, unlawful currency, that's the Federal Reserve, confiscatory taxation, right to self-medicate, that means vitamins and over-the-counter things, rampant government corruption, property rights, judicial tyranny, parental rights, gun control, gun confiscation. What's your line in the sand? There it is right there, media bypass. This is no endorsement of this magazine, even though their information is flawless. Unbelievable. All right, that's another good information. Here's a little quote by Mark Twain, hardly a right-winger. An introduction to the return to constitutional government. In the beginning of change, the patriot is a scarce man, a brave and hated and scorned. When his cause succeed, the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot. And that's absolutely true. Just want to say something about the IRS, and then we'll go to your calls. We've been hearing that the IRS is being bad, being abusive. The IRS is unlawful. There is no innocent until proven guilty where the IRS is concerned. The IRS they have their own courts, they have their own laws, they don't even follow the government's laws, they don't even follow their own laws, they don't even follow the tax code. They just run around doing whatever they want, period. Do you understand that? The IRS can come and take your house tomorrow, and there's nothing you can do unless you refuse and send them a copy of the Constitution. It's very, very complex. I'm going to have some tax experts on in the future.
I don't know. The IRS, I don't know. To me, it's just obviously corrupt. I don't really want to talk about these kind of issues of, our agency's bad. Obviously, government's bad. So on my show, we're not going to be discussing, whether it is or not.
Now, that doesn't mean that we should get rid of all government. It's a necessary evil.
No, we have to make it very efficient, and we have to watch it. We have to understand, first of all, that it is, it's a necessary evil, but we have to remember that it is evil, and it's inherently corrupt, and will grow to be more corrupt every second that you leave it alone. So you have to watch it, and, take care of it, like a pretty little flower.
Absolutely, and something you say is true. Are you aware that Bill Clinton now is laughing about getting rid of the IRS and saying, Newt Gingrich, Newt Gingrich, Newt Gingrich? In fact, I heard that on the radio, on the TV, everywhere you name it, from ABC, CBS, USA Network, doesn't matter, whatever radio station or TV, you'll hear him saying, Newt Gingrich, tax cuts, get rid of the IRS. Newt Gingrich has had nothing to do with this movement, really, when it comes to cutting taxes, but the media says, tax cuts, Newt Gingrich. And everybody hates him so much because the media has vilified him and he's done some things that people say, I'm going to let him rip me off and come shake me down for no reason and cheat me, even though they never go and target the rich. They only target the middle class. And I don't care if the Federal Reserve gets all our money and big foreign banks are getting all our tax money and it's a huge scam and taxes are really for the rich and they make money out of it. I don't care. I'm going to be ignorant because I'm going to beat Newt Gingrich. I mean, that's what they're doing, isn't it?
Right. People just have to be aware that the knowledge is right there in front of you. All you have to do is go to a bookstore and get a tax book of any kind, and you'll start reading the horror stories.
Now, we're not saying go to the bookstore and get a book.
No, don't buy books. For God's sake, don't read books.
Yeah.
We're not endorsing reading of any kind.
Yeah.
But it's just right there in front of your face. You have the options to watch intelligent media and intelligent literature, or ridiculous literature.
I want to point something out in case somebody says we were being commercial right there.
Right.
You said bookstore and they got books on taxes. You didn't name a book specifically, did you?
Right.
But I guess shows like the Reading Rainbow that tell kids it's good to read books and get knowledge, those are evil on PBS, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah. So don't stop it. Do not talk about books anymore. Only TV.
Right. Well, Reading Rainbow, what does that mean, rainbow? Fantasy books? I don't know. Totally misleading the children. Well, it's just right there in front of you. I don't think that anyone who actually cares about the world today. All you have to do is care a little bit. Then you go out and you seek, and you see the knowledge. It's right there in front of you. So for me, I don't want to really dwell on the issue of are things bad. Is government corrupt? Do we need reform? That kind of ridiculous question.
You want to lead by example and say, I don't want to be a parasite. I don't want to go join some clique of people that think they're cool and think they're part of the establishment who make their money out of screwing somebody. You're going to be a human being and an artist.
Right. Just go beyond all that and let's start to look at what are the actual solutions.
And, Bo, you are a school teacher, by the way, and I do an excellent job.
Well, yeah.
Thank God there's
it's really scary. It's scary being a teacher these days.
What kind of stuff do you see?
Well, you see what the future holds, and it's very frightening. I have all kind of theories about education as well. One, first and foremost, it really should be voluntary. There's too many children in there that, they don't want to be there to the point where they're bringing everybody down with them. They just want to totally disrupt. They're in chaos mode.
Well, what it comes down to is that used to a lot of kids never left the fields or never left the factories or never left home. They would just, because they didn't want it, they weren't that kind of kid. What we should do is, I believe we should have public schools, but they should be controlled by the state and by the locale, not by the federal government like we're getting now.
Exactly.
And what we should do is we should allow school vouchers, but Bill Clinton vetoed that. He doesn't want you to be able to keep your own tax money to send your kid where you want to private school. They want to charge you.
Right. The parents should pay for education.
They want to make you pay to have your kids propagandized by a bunch of moron, wannabe leftists that are nothing but dupes of corrupt fascists.
I know, and it's so sad. You have all these teachers that are good. There's not one teacher who enters, or not any one agent of the government or any politician who enters the system, wanting to be corrupt and wanting to be an idiot monger. It's just what you turn into because...
Well, it's also peer pressure, isn't it?
It's it's boss pressure. You're almost forced to just go with the flow. Don't actually try to teach the kids. Don't fail anyone, for God's sake. Just keep the flow of human flesh through your classroom, and don't stop anyone. You might actually pinpoint a problem and have to solve it.
And now they've got this fuzzy math in the textbooks for the kids. 2 plus 2 might be 5.
I haven't heard anything about that. What?
Well, supposedly. Well, have you heard about spaceship and spaceship game? And,
Somebody's got to die.
And bomb shelter.
Actually, I went to Catholic school, and we had something like that. I remember one day we had.
Well, I've had little kids call the show, and I've heard about it. My sister even had it. She goes to private school, one of the best in town. It's being done in all schools, private and public, because the same curriculum comes out somehow by these textbook companies. And I've talked about this. They get kids, like 10 kids, around a table, and they go, okay, we're going to play spaceship. There's 8 of you at the table. Only 6 can live. And the kids decide who's got to die. We don't get over the problem. We don't surmount. We get the kids used to talking about who's got to die.
Right. Accept failure. Just accept that you can't change things. Just who's going to die first. That's great. Actually, they want us to start already to get our numbers in order so that when we have the wagon trains to the Deathville, we can already know our number, who gets on the train first to the concentration camp, I guess.
Well, Ted Turner, the guy who I told you is a lover of the UN, and they gave him $1 billion. I guess I'm right.
All right.
I was at the governor's mansion just about an hour and a half ago, interviewing Dennis Hopper and other people for a major national television station, and I was there doing it, because through another media that I work for, they have a show on. I'm not going to get into that, but what I was doing is I was there filming, and I had people filming. I had a crew there, and we were asking questions. I had to leave early to come to this show. They're still there filming. And people were just like so impressed to be around movie stars, and I'd walk right up. Other reporters, and we were the only camera crew allowed in, by the way. Other reporters walk up with pad and paper, kind of be real scared. I mean, for mainstream papers around here, I just bulled up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And they saw that I wasn't impressed by them, so they immediately started talking to me.
Right.
And it's just so obvious. Just be your own leader. I mean, you don't have to be a scumbag.
Well, it's people reacting emotionally. I mean,
people are so petty. They're just all that matters is who's got what,
people are reacting instead of leading. You're exactly right there.
We're reacting rather than acting.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if a big star comes up to me, if I didn't think about it, and think this is just a normal person like anybody else, I might freak out, get all nervous and.
Yeah, I mean Oliver Stone. I sat right there and just said, "Hey, what do you think of Mel Gibson's conspiracy theory?" Right. Because I asked him, just flat out stuff. I mean, what's to me? I looked at him, it wasn't nothing. It was a human being to me.
Right.
He's not one half of probably of what my grandfather did going in World War II. And seeing all those dead bodies and stuff. I mean, what's this guy? He can go make a great film. Great, he's cool. I don't want anybody to kiss my butt. And I think when I was talking to some of the producers and people, and I talked to the guy who wrote Jaws, and talked to the guy that wrote The Graduate, and a bunch of other different guys.
Yeah.
They enjoyed talking to me because I talked to them like a human being. I didn't go, "You're so cool, you're so neat." I asked them what they liked, what they were into.
Right.
But anyways, it was entertaining today to go around the film festival, check it out. But again, just the way the people were posing, and people were there just so glad to be there, and going. I mean, the analogy I use is in 1913 and 1914, when they gave us the income tax, we were a dog, a nice healthy dog. They took a little bitty tick, and put it on. Now the government's half of everything or more. So imagine a dog pulling a tick that's bigger than it.
Right. Well, the tick's pulling this dead carcass around, a half-dead carcass of a dog around now.
And that's what happens to communist and socialist and fascist countries at a certain point when they become really fascistic. And those are all the same terms, socialist, fascist. It's all fake terms. Thug governments. The economy dies, and then you just got a thug state with a bunch of people that are lined up for a piece of sausage. The system does not work. It's real good for the elite, though. Well, I appreciate your the comment.
Right.
Bo, do you have anything else to add before we go to these calls?
No, just go ahead and get some calls.
All right, we'll go to all these calls. We've got about 13 minutes left. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I can't hear you, but...
We'll turn your TV on a little bit.
Okay. My question is, you talk about property rights. What about the way Austin is annexing everybody around them? I mean, Austin's full of liberals. The outerline counties are conservative. They do not have the services that we already have. How do they have the right to annex even beyond their own county?
Well, the city needs more money for its greedy bond packages where we ship the money out. And again, let's quit being nice to these dupes out there. These people are not liberals. They are parasites. They call themselves liberal. They're like, oh, you're attacking me. Well, I guess I am somebody that cares. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit goofy, but I care. No, start attacking them for what they are. They're parasites in sheep's clothing. Any comments?
I still don't understand how Austin is able to annex
Easy. We've got bigger politicians.
property.
We go
ahead.
and we buy their politicians off. I mean, look at our mayor, Kirk Watson. He's a trial lawyer. I mean, he got $300-something thousand from out of state. I mean, he's here. He's going to give us big bond packages. He's going to increase our taxes.
Right.
That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to get our money.
And there's no way we can prevent it.
No, you can raise a lot of hell. You can start talking. If you talk to 5 of your friends and get them to talk to 5 of their friends, and don't listen to the media's lies, don't listen to their BS, just raise hell, you can have a huge effect.
Well, everybody that's done that in the past, especially, I moved from Houston, especially around there, they could complain all they wanted to. They could file lawsuits. They could do whatever they want. They always got annexed.
Well, I guess you're just going to let the crooks run all over you then, aren't you?
Okay. What legal standing do they have to do this? Do you know?
Well, they don't have legal. I mean, the health department went out to Mr. Ellingson's home and gave him $2,000 a day fines for having grass this high. So I went.
Well, I didn't even see grass that high in his lawn.
Well, I know it's really about that high. So
I saw that grass that high on their property.
Well, then I went and filmed the city health department where the letter. I showed you the letter, where the letter came from. Then I went and I filmed a council member's home with a tarp on the roof, a derelict car with vines growing all over it. Total hypocrisy. I film that for people. That's how you get them. You keep Access Television here. You come up here and you get a show and you go do stories. I mean, I'm a young man, and in a year and a half, I've got an FM radio show. I'm on ACTV. I'm filming stuff for E! Entertainment down at the governor's mansion, talking to Dennis Hopper and Oliver Stone and everybody else. I did it. Just stop caring what people think and just start telling them to go to hell and tell them they're wrong. And research. Prove them wrong. That's all you got to do. I swear to God, if 10,000 people in town got like I am and got like other people are, we'd have these people overturned real fast. Does that mean we would give people some utopia? No. But it means that we could actually change things. What are we going to demand?
True.
What change are we going to demand? What are we going to demand? Decide first what we're going to demand. When the media points to some old lady crying or some little kid saying, oh, they cut the welfare checks, this is hurting them, say, okay, let's give that old lady welfare, but let's give them laptop computers for the children. Let's get the drugs out of the black community and out of the white community, out of the Hispanic community. Let's stop shipping them in. Let's start executing murderers and letting out unviolent offenders. Let's get a basic law that is made not to foster corruption, but to create strong community through action. Let's get rid of corporate welfare, which is half of the pie. No one talks about private banks control our Federal Reserve. The World Bank, Nations Bank, and else are on World Bank standards, on the guidelines. You can go ask them, but nobody will do it. I've proven it. It's true. No one cares that we're under European control now. America's conquered. The way we start winning the war is through talking to friends, getting involved, and not letting them back us down. See, most people, and I appreciate your call, most people don't have an attitude. Most people don't have any beliefs of their own. Most people don't have the nerve and the will to believe for themselves what they believe. Not that they're perfect, not that I'm right, but that I have my own view, damn it. And I believe in myself enough to have my own view. Instead, everybody just goes, okay, what's everybody else saying? What will I seem popular if I do? Okay, I'm for Bill Clinton because he loves the women. That's total bull, excuse me. I mean, that's total crap. Absolute crap. And again, I want to thank my sponsor.
I've got quite a few programs that you'll see live here on Austin Community Access Center. But also I've got quite a few tape programs that are copies of, they're tapes of live programs that I've done. So you're obviously watching a tape program right now, and this is just a little insert that I've taped to go onto that from my little VHS camera. Also, you will not only in the future see cuts of me talking to you and giving you my commentary and taking phone calls, you'll also start seeing cuts of films that I like. You're fixing to see a cut from a 1975 film called Network. It won quite a few Academy Awards. It had famous actors in it like William Holden, Robert Duvall, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're fixing to see a quick cut of it. This is a very seminal film because it shows that corporations have become like countries in this world, and that they are masters of advertisement and manipulation. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's the free market, or at least it used to be the free market. What this film shows, and it is fiction, but it's widely accepted as a incredible work of the age. And now, almost 20 years later, in 1997, we see what a powerful film Network really is. That's what we've got to talk about. And you can say, well, why aren't you showing us a movie, Alex, to talk about reality? Everybody knows that art is the most powerful medium in our culture, whether it's computer, television, print, music, you name it, poetry. It's what conveys the sense of the society. This film, Network, is Academy Award winning. It's incredible. I suggest you go out and rent it. It's not an advertisement for any video rental place. But this is just because this movie is fantastic. And it really shows how corporations have become like countries. It shows both the cosmologies of our age, the so-called mad howl of democracy, as some of the founding fathers would call it, and then those that believe they know order, the corporate cosmology. And again, I'm for corporations, as long as they're involved in the free market. But when corporations, and again, I think 90% of corporations are above board, just that certain cadre of elite corporations, certain institutions of finance, international finance, certain institutions of power and energy, certain institutions of education, which are now being controlled by those other dominant interests. And anybody who doesn't think that big money doesn't go after education is a fool. That's what all the foundations are for. There's hundreds of them. Hundreds of foundations that are backed by the big money. And again, a lot of big money isn't causing the problem. But you've got certain groups out there that make their money out of controlling governments. And you're saying, oh yeah, this is a conspiracy. Ask yourselves why you don't know human history. People out there who are questioning what I'm saying. There is no questioning what I'm saying. This is the way the world works. Powerful interests go out and get what they want because they're powerful men and women. They're powerful groups. They're consolidated power. That's why they're where they are. Is because they're in the business of power, people. It's not a joke. And that's what confuses me out there, is that people want to act like everything is a big fairy tale when it's not. It's not by any shape or form of the imagination. This is the way the world works, okay? Nowadays, everything can be pawned off as conspiracy. It's not conspiracy. Okay? Right down here at the Texas legislature, the insurance companies go down every 2 years when the legislature's in session. I believe it's in session right now. They go down there. When you see this tape, it probably won't be in session anymore. But the insurance companies go down there and they go into committee and they go in and the lobbyists write the bills. The insurance companies in this state write the Texas Insurance Code. Well, that's the way it is nationwide. And, they've got all kinds of weird little scams in the name of deregulation, in the name of privatization. And I'm all for that if it's real deregulation, real privatization. But that's not happening in our power companies and our cable and our everything. Really what it is it's an excuse for the power and consolidated organizations out there to raise rates, to screw us, to have more and more oligopolies and monopolies in services in this country. And it just doesn't produce a good system in this country. So here's some cuts from Network. In the scene you're about to see, Howard Beale, the Network executive, Howard Beale is being taken by Mr. Hackett, played by Robert Duvall, to see the top executive of this big international bank. This is all the names in this movie are fictitious, or they've been made up. They're not real names. These aren't real companies here. But it's perfect examples about international holding companies, money, influence. And it gives you an example about how our media has been taken over. Because this is so true. Truth is stranger than fiction. Well, here's some fiction for you. And here is Mr. Beale, a network anchorman, who's kind of gone off his rocker a little bit. He's talking about how this foreign corporation has bought up the network. He's talking about what's going on. And they put him on the air because he's getting high ratings. But Howard Beale, the network anchor, comes out and starts talking about the corporation that owns his company, that just bought out his company, that he works for, his network. And so, guess what? Mr. Beale is being taken to see the head officer of the parent company that just bought their company. And he's hearing a little bit about why it's futile for him to keep talking about freedom and people, because the executive tells him, because Mr. Beale, you're messing with the tidal forces of nature. This is the way the world works. It's ebb and flow, and it's survival of the fittest, and everyone will be given a share of stock in the world economy, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Alex Jones is telling you the danger in this, the danger in these kind of ideas, is that it's the oldest excuse in the book. The excuse for empire, the excuse for monarchy, the excuse for whatever you want to say, the excuse for rule by an iron fist is, well, because they know what's best, and because you're stupid. And you're right, a lot of average people are pretty stupid. And don't worry, they're not going to get put in command. But what we need is a system where the free market can dictate what our lives are going to be. Because these corporations, these elite cadres of corporations, are not for freedom anymore. They are countries within themselves, and they're competing with each other. And there's not much room for us, the little guy, who's been disenfranchised, us, the little unit, when you've got these giant masses out there competing between each other. Because they'll use us as cannon fodder in their machinations for ever-increasing power. That's what I'm saying. Look, survival of the fittest is all great and all that if you're a little minnow in a pond and a bass eats you. But we don't want the same kind of mentality for our world. And again, I'm not a liberal here. I'm a conservative. I'm a libertarian in a lot of respects, though. I'm a libertarian on a lot of my social issues, but on my fiscal things, I'm conservative. Just simply because I don't like my money being taken via taxes and then being handed to the multinational corporations. You probably ask, well, how does that happen, Alex? Well, again, these corporations now control our government. How do they do that? They do it with campaign money. Hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Billions in lobbying money. Lobbying in this country is over a $7 billion industry a year. And just buying our federal politicians is about a $350 million price tag a year. They buy us cheap, folks, for hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars. And our debt's $5 trillion, $300 billion now. So think about that. That's a lot of money. And you got to ask yourself where it's all going. Understand this: government isn't your friend anymore. Government's there to create a large trough for certain elite corporations to make a lot of money out of. And they buy our politicians cheap. Now, I go over this over and over because this is all factual information. Now, let's watch part of Network, which is fiction, but it's kind of like George Orwell's 1984 in that it's all coming true. It's so seminal, so important. It's the crux of the issue of which kind of outlook are we going to have? Are we going to say, hey, this is the way the world works, lay down to all the police state that's coming, lay down to personal identification, lay down to thumb scanning to buy and sell, even if you've got cash, which if you've seen the Visa commercials lately, it shows thumb scanning commercials and how it's the newest technology and how it's wonderful. And they've got the thumb scanners downtown at DPS office. They've got thumb scanners down on North Lamar at the DPS office, and you're saying, well, big deal, that's just for personal identification. Yeah, but you see how it's all being connected with commerce now in a world system of finance where we'll be the serfs of a system and we'll be born into this system. It's power, folks. Humans tend to weave the same web over and over. Representative democracy, that's the key, to stand up against this global economy. And again, I'm for free trade. I'm for a ship going up and dumping off 1,000 VCRs, a million VCRs, or Toyotas, or us selling them Fords and Chevys. I don't care. We don't need to knock down our sovereignty and lose U.S. sovereignty and let World Trade Organizations control the country to get VCRs. Okay? We can have free trade without giving up our sovereignty. It's all an excuse. It's a mentality, and it's being pushed to major universities because of big grant money and awards to professors that write the textbooks that are in line with this. And that's not a conspiracy. We'll find out about it. And all these professors get a couple $1 million for a couple of years just for research money to write a textbook. And guess what? The professors that write the, hey, you can't do anything, this is the way the markets work, and give you some amalgama of New Age / geopolitics, world union, weirdo talk where you can't get a handle on anything, and they just say, just lay down to the worldwide corporations and consolidated money. Well, I got news for you. Of the 20 top banks in the world, America only has 3 that are based here, Chemical Bank and a few others. We need to understand that we're not a banking elite because we're not old money. Our country's not even that old. We're having our butt kicked by some European banks, by some Japanese banks and things. And I believe in America's ability to compete, but if we don't know what the banking establishment's doing to us, if we don't know how they're coming at us, if we don't know how they're consolidating power and what they're doing and how the world works, then we're screwed. How do you stop it? You demand that government be cut. You demand that they cut your government. And the media every night will cry and whine and tell you why we need government and point to the sad excuse that's had a terrible life, the government's ruined, and try to say, see, or they'll try to show you a good story of what government's done. That's coming next, probably. You got to be able to look at them and say, hey, I'm tired of your crap, all right? I'm tired of your bull. I'm tired of your BS. I want to live free in this country. And I know it's going to be hard to cut government, but if we don't cut government, it's going to be a lot harder. So that's how you stop it. That's how you break it. You demand that government be cut. Look, they're trying to tell you now, Clinton's trying to tell you that the age, and Republicans too, that the age of big government's over, but then guess what? They say the government's not the problem. In the same speech, he says that. That's right. Just leave it like it is, they want you to. Well, what's the current state of affairs? On average, government grows at 10% a year, state, local, and national. 10% a year. Another 10 years, everything's going to be government. You're asking, well, that can't happen. Yes, it can, folks. Yes, it can. We will all be co-opted. Oh, there'll still be McDonald's and still Burger King and still everything else. But taxes, 20 years, taxes are going to be at an 82% tax rate. The average federal tax bracket. That's Congressional Budget Office numbers. We're in a crisis situation. Okay? Government is not your friend. Wake up to that. Now, here's some scenes from Network. This is what some of the elite cadres of corporations think. Again, I think 90% of your free market's great. 90% of your corporations are wonderful. There's that little 3 or 4%, let's say, of the top 10%, or even less, that are international, that don't care about our country, don't care about human rights, don't care about anything, and they control the Democratic Party, people. Bill Clinton got more corporate contributions than Bob Dole did. I didn't like Bob Dole either. He's a sellout too. But just the scary part is people out there really think Clinton cares about it. He doesn't care about you. He's in league with people like this. Now again, enough of Alex Jones. Here's some scenes from the Academy Award-winning 1975 film Network. Enjoy. And that's right. It is pretty depressing to hear that you don't matter, isn't it? Well, that's the way they always sell it to you all through history. The world is flat. Anyone that says it's not flat will be executed. You just saw this film. I mean, that's I'm being overly, I'm exaggerating, but yes, corporations are fine. Yes, free market's the best. A lot better than some other sick system. But your real systems are control on this side, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, whatever you want to call it, monarchy, whatever. Monarchy is just what the people agree to it and say, yeah, because we love this king. It's real primitive. Here you got communism, which just says it's for the people, and everyone will have the same. But you notice over here on this end, everybody's starving to death and nobody's got anything. And then at the top, there's people flying around on jet airplanes and living great, like Gorbachev or Khrushchev or Lenin or Stalin or whoever. See, it's all these systems, they give you your crap, folks. You got a free market where you're allowed to go out and do what you want and live and work for what you can get. And you got all in between systems of control. So that's why Network's such a good movie. I suggest you go out and rent it. We just showed a clip of that. And that's what we're talking about here. You know, corporations would love for you to believe that the global society is, wonderful and leave it alone and all that. And it is. If it was a free market global society that they're trying to set up, they're not. It's a global banking, economic monopoly empire where we're nothing but cogs in a machine. And I'm telling you, civilization will fall apart real fast with a system like that. Humans need vision, they need opportunity, they need to have choices. Where's the adventure in life? If we just sell ourselves down the river of the we don't count and to be apathetic. And that's what I see the major media and the universities pushing us to be. They hand us this crap. There are no absolutes, they tell us. There is no black and white, which there isn't any black and white. But they're telling us just keep looking for the gray. They want us to never know what we're doing. They want us to never be able to make decisions or act on things. And that's what I'm saying to people out there. Is there's a serious pattern in this country. There's some serious things going on. We need to get involved. We need to understand as Americans that the secret to everything is cutting taxes. Because by cutting taxes, tax cuts work. Because government isn't going to work, folks. Government never works when it gets to a certain size. Our government is half everything in this country now, if you count local, state, and national. The average person pays half of everything they make to some form of government. Okay? The average person works over a third of the year just to pay their federal taxes. That's why everybody in every home has to work 2 jobs. A lot of people have to work 2 jobs, and the man and woman have to work in most households. And that's fine if they want to work. But a lot of women, a lot of men want to stay home with their kids. And I'm not saying, I'm not claiming to have the answer to the system. I just know people are being lied to daily in the press. I see the lies. I see something happen on C-SPAN. I read the actual bill for myself, pull it off the internet, off the House webpage, government documents that you can get yourself certified. I see the actual document. I see something completely different, Peter Jennings or Tom Brokaw at night. It's just time to wake up. I don't think Walter Cronkite people should be the most trusted men in America. I don't think they're trustworthy because they've got big interest. Big interest. Their interest or our interest always. Okay, maybe your corporation's interested in your interest always. You got to stand up for human rights. Nobody stood up against Hitler when he went and tried to kill the Jews. It's time for us to stand up against another evil that's growing. Think of all the wars that have been just in this century. Think of all the famine, all the death, all the persecution. Think of it all, people. Don't be apathetic or problems are going to come. That's why I showed a clip from this movie. Not that it's reality or anything, but it's a famous, award-winning movie, Network. That's the cut you just saw from there. And that's the reason that film is so famous is because it cuts to the chase. Hey, our corporations that control our country are being bought by foreign corporations. What does that mean? It means U.S. sovereignty is being destroyed. So is it any stretch of the imagination? That's why our universities, it's being taught now that globalism is the key and dissolve national boundaries. Other cultures are great. Other cultures are great, yes. But I don't want India or Japan's or Germany's way of government. I want America's way of government. I want American citizens to vote and decide. I don't want us to be like class presidents. I don't want our president to be like the class president of a high school. Doesn't really make any decisions, is a puppet. That's what we're headed towards. Where our elected officials will be nothing but total, absolute puppets of the empire. What is the empire? Corporations. We don't care about human rights, don't care about any of this. And again, I'm a free market person. I bash Democrats all day. What are Democrats? They're the worst shade of it. And I don't mean the guy on the street who's been fooled. I mean Democrats that are for massive taxes, that are for a massive authoritarian state, or I should say egalitarian. Not equality of freedom, but not equality of opportunity. No, equality of outcomes. Well, people know that just doesn't work. Well, what's it mean? Why is this happening? Because Bill Clinton got more corporate contributions from foreign money than Bob Dole did. Yeah, I'm not a Bob Dole fan, but it's clear. Bill Clinton isn't your friend. Democrats aren't your friends, folks. Big Democrats, big money Democrats. They'll tell you all day they're for the little guy. They're not. They're for the multinational corporation. They're for the international finance. Okay? And I'm all for the bank down the street, giving you a loan or business loan. I'm for free market. I can't say that enough. I'm not a communist or something. In fact, I'm the total opposite. I'm for freedom. We'll never have a perfect system. Alex Jones, 23 years old, doesn't have all the answers. I mean, I don't have all the answers. That's the intercom, folks. Ignore it. I don't have all the answers. Okay? I don't claim to have all the answers. But I guarantee you this, you're getting lied to every damn day by the newspapers and by the media, and they're selling you big government, and it ain't for the poor women, and it ain't for the poor children, and it ain't for the poor, blue-collar people. No, that's only 14% of the pie. Go down to
IRS office on South 35 and get you the pamphlet. We'll show you in the pie chart in the back. Only 14% goes to real welfare, and 71 cents on every dollar of that money goes to bureaucracy. Folks, they could care less. They could care less about you people. They could care less about you and your family. I'm in here recording this, and there's a intercom keeps talking. And I'm not going to re-record it. I'm being natural. I'm not Peter Jennings with a teleprompter here, wearing a $600 tie, $3,000 suit or whatever. I'm trying to get the information out to you, folks. I don't have the answer. I know you're getting lied to, but I'll tell you what one answer is, and it's the fullest answer I can give you, and it's the best answer. When you hear the whining and the crying and the bitching and the moaning in the media, ignore it. When they point to some sob story and say, look what happens if we cut government, this person's going to get hurt. Ignore them. They're full of it. We got to cut government or it's going to destroy your family's future. It's going to destroy your children's future. And the media loves to use children as an excuse to ram down corporate socialism down our throats. Hey, socialism is controlled by the national, by their national corporation. They love to use children all day. Well, I don't have the answer. I know you're getting lied to, but I'll tell you what one answer is, and it's the fullest answer I can give you, and it's the best answer. When you hear the whining and the crying and the bitching and the moaning in the media, ignore it. When they point to some sob story and say, look what happens if we cut government, this person's going to get hurt. Ignore them. They're full of it. We got to cut government or it's going to destroy your family's future. It's going to destroy your children's future. And the media loves to use children as an excuse to ram down corporate socialism down our throats. Hey, socialism is controlled by the national, by their national corporation. They love to use children all day. Well, I'll use the real facts for you. Congressional Budget Office numbers and Bill Clinton's own numbers. In 20 years, 19 now, a person being born a year ago will be paying a 82% tax bracket in 19 years.